Hi guys, this is Michael from the Boardgames Chronicle. Today I have for you a material about the British way, counterinsurgency at the end of empire. This is another volume in the coin series. Actually, this is the first multi-pack one in the coin series. Very interesting solution to this very popular, let's say, mechanics of the game. This is, of course, a game based on the Volker very famous counterinsurgency theme. In this case, the designer is Steven Rangazes and developer very well known Joe DeWurst. What is so special about this game in comparison, for example, to other coin games? First of all, we are getting 4 games in one box. We are getting Malaya, we are getting Cyprus, Palestine, and Kenya. And it tells us the story of counterinsurgency operations by the British Empire to so-called emergencies, and which happened at the fringes of the empire between 1945 and 1960. Simply after World War II, we saw a lot of independence movement. One of them, a huge one, was of course India, and this is described in another coin series game, Gandhi. Here we are talking about smaller escape conflict. We have the communist insurgency in Malaya. We have the nationalists in Kenya. We have more clandestine operation in Cyprus and Palestine. It's really intriguing because at the one hand, this is a 2-player coin, which is something specific. Usually you would have coins with 3 or 4 players. So its rules were adjusted to be able to play in 2 players. And you can play separately each campaign, or you can play this one huge long campaign where, let's say, the final result is based on those 4 mini games. This is also kind of an introductory coin game in that sense that some of the rules were streamlined. Also, it doesn't take so much time. I think Cyprus you can easily play in 1 hour, if I remember correctly. So really, with a good planning and knowledge of rules, during 1 afternoon you should play the whole campaign. Now, let's have a look what components the game brings. It's a traditional, typical 3 inches box. Let me just put it so you can see it clearly. Interestingly, having 4 games, we would have 4 rule books, and I think this would be a perfect solution to have a rule separately. But before rule books, we have campaign booklet, which introduces the game to us, also the end of the Empire campaign, also some designer notes. We have introduction here. We have the campaign, so playing 4 games in a sequence. You can have some pre-war options. Here, the description about the campaign event. It's typical thing in the coin games where you are getting very interesting stuff about where the events are coming from. Some discussion about pre-war options for Palestine, Malaya, Kenya, and Cyprus. And here, more historical background. Very interesting. Here you can have even historical outcomes. For example, Palestine, it was failure. Malaya, it was success. Kenya, it was success. Cyprus, it was mixed. Yep. Okay, even more information on this. And then the designer notes, of course. So differences from other coin series games and how it was developed. Really like designer and developer notes. So this is the first book. This is the campaign booklet. Okay, we have also a quick start guide for returning coin series players. They suggest carefully study the rules for each game in this multipack before beginning to play, or at the very least to read the quick start guide and refer to the rules, because there will be some changes. So this is campaign booklet, and then, as I told you, we would have 4 rules of play. Some of the stuff will be repeated between those books, but just like with Pacific War, where you had also different booklets for engagement and battle campaign scenarios, here I also prefer, if I'm playing Palestine, I would like to have all rules in one place, even if some of them might be slightly repeated. So this is the description of the game, operations, special activities, victory, propaganda round, all stuff which we would have normally. And then we have also the example of play with playing of the cards and actions. And of course, event tips and background are here. Some strategy guide, key terms, indexes, and setup instructions. Here is the map and the setup. Now the second game which we have is Cyprus, 1955-59. Again, if you look at the content of the instruction, it's similar to what we saw in the Palestine. Again, operations, special activities, slightly different than what events we have, how we play the propaganda round, and how we establish the victory. Then again, the example of play. This is really cool. And after example of play, description of the events, and also the setup, which is here at the end. Not a very complicated one, as you might see. British forces, the Cypriot insurgents forces. Looks nice. The third game would be the British way Malaya, 12 years of insurgency, much longer, and this is a bigger map than Cyprus, for example. We would have guerrillas with bases, that's for sure. The Marxist insurgency. Okay, example of play. It reminds me about Fire in the Lake and NVA troops, actually, which is not far from the reality. Okay, here are events descriptions. And then we would have a setup. Let me show you the setup. Not a huge one at the beginning, but it develops very nicely, especially when the British forces are being introduced. Last but not least, Kenya. Maybe not so long conflict, but very brutal and very violent. I think out of those 4, probably the biggest number of civilians died. Here we have the instruction again, nicely done in similar way as others. As I told you, even if there are some repetitions, I prefer to have a separate booklet for this and be able to read. Then example of play, events, and show me this. Let me show you the setup. Here is the here was the setup, and here is the map. How does it look like? Exactly. These are again British forces, and these are the insurgent forces. You can see we are reusing some of the cubes colors for all the games, just I think to save also from economical point of view money. Yeah, so it's really nicely well thought. Now, what do we have here? We have here now the operations and special activities for each and every of the game. Slightly different. It looks slightly different than the usual coin ones, as you can see. Even coloristic is different. Here we have 2 for the Palestine. Yes, on one side we have the British operations and special activities. I will not be going through them today. I will do separate video about it. And here we have an insurgent special activities and operations. Deploy, patrol, search, assault, typical one for the coin, of course. Here we have recruit, travel, sabotage, and rob. Yeah, so also ones which you would expect from insurgents. Then we have 2 player aids for the Malaya. Yeah, so Malaya operations and the British operations. I would need to double check. I have not read in details to what extent the operations and special activities of the British differ between 4 games. Of course, the ones for the insurgents would be different. Yeah, so 2 sets because yeah, we have 2 players. The third set is for Kenya. Yeah, only 3 operations of insurgents, but also 3 special activities. And always you can see information regarding the victory. And last but not least, the Cyprus emergency, as the British called it. So here it is. We have like 4 operations of EOKA and 3 special abilities, and the British seems to have pretty standard ones in all 4 games. So this is what you would expect from the coin game, yeah. Special activities and operations and this player. Now, propaganda rounds. So whenever you draw the propaganda card, yeah, you will be resolving the situation on the map, and you have propaganda rounds for each and every of the games. So Palestine, Malaya, Kenya, and Cyprus. So it guides you through this. And this is what I was referring to at the beginning. End of Empire campaign. So this is the campaign in which you play all 4 games, and you would have a couple of markers showing who won particular game, particular scenario and area, and how does it look like from the empire perspective, whether they are losing or winning. So one person will be the British Empire, the other will be insurgent. There are some pre-war options which I was showing you in the rulebook for each and every of those 4 games, which also adds some it spices up and adds interesting feel to the game. Okay, now we have the tokens, not too many, as you can see, British control, and here you would have this would be the socialist from Malaya, this would be Kenya control. You see, in Palestine or in Cyprus it was more clandestine. Here it was a pure control fight. Yeah. Exactly. Now the maps. We would have 4 maps. Actually, 2 maps double-sided. Yeah. Let me show all of them to you. Yeah, and check whether you can see everything in camera. So here is the maps for Cyprus. Here's the victory for the insurgents and their forces, initiative track, prison, and all the areas. Here would be the British available forces. I told you this is not a large, probably the smallest of the game, the Cyprus ones. Okay, and on the other side, we would have Kenya. Okay. So here is, and we have Nairobi here, the city. And as you can see, we have control and attitude, pipeline track, and here we have the victory track and also the initiative track. Okay, nice. Now let's have a look at the Palestine map. Here it is. Here we have many more cities than previous areas. You have Haifa, Tel Aviv, Jerusalem. Not so many areas, many more cities. Forces, but also initiative track, legend, Hagan track. Kind of a new mechanic, yeah, which is in the game, and of course, general records track. On the other side, we have Malaya. Let me do it that way. Malaya, yeah, more types of Terrain, we have Thailand here. We have mountain, jungle, and areas out of play. We would have commanders here. And we have, of course, general track here. Beautiful. Really nicely looking. And so glad to have it as a multi-pack, being able to play all 4 games. Now, what else do we have? Of course, 2 6-sided die. You need to use it from time to time. Then you have the tokens. As I told you, you are reusing some of them. Representing British, representing the insurgents. And the heart of the game, every coin game, are the cards. We have like 4 decks of the cards because we have 4 games. Let me open at least one for you. Okay, so I've opened it. I've opened the decks for the Cyprus, and here is the Kenya deck, and also the End of Empire. Yeah, additional cards for the campaign, I believe. So let's look at the Cyprus. As usually, you would have the picture, the name of the card, and then 2 events which you can implement. For example, EOKA conducts 3 limited operations pretty nicely. In a space with troops, assault removes any arm caches first. So this is a good event for the British, this is for the insurgents. Really like the new type of graphics which this game brings. This would be the capability. Yeah. When you take capability, do it as early as possible to have it actually impacting the game for as long as possible. Nice. Let's have a look at the Kenya cards. Okay, this looks slightly differently, but not much. Airstrike may select up to 2 provinces. British capability airstrike may only select mountain jungle spaces. Shift the pipeline 1 step to the right, and Mao may place 1 guerrilla each into N provinces. So these are again events which are not connected to guerrillas, and at the top these are more connected with insurgents. A lot of blood was shed in those conflicts, especially in Kenya. Really, really bloody one. Okay, and here we have a British Malaya, and 4th one. Let me open it for you. Okay, so we have the Malaya cards, the Palestine cards, and we have the early period for the Empire cards. Yeah. So let's have a look on the Malaya. British capability may rally in spaces with the new villages if opposition were nice. Chemicals, oh my god. Korean War, what does it do? British resources -4, British resources +10, increase political will by 1. Deportations. It has a lot of new feel of this game to the previous coin, so I'm really glad that the mechanics, the sentiment behind the game is similar, but the new solutions. Of course, propaganda, like 3, so not very long. And then the Palestine. Yes, a lot of Montgomery in Palestine, of course. And Harry Truman, what kind of event it will be? Increase political will by 2, British may deploy in up to 3 spaces, or lower political will by 1. I also like that in the book you would have a description of this event and why there are so 2 distinct possibilities to resolve it. Because some actions might go this or the other way. Okay, and here's capability. Nice. Okay. and 3 propaganda rounds. Okie doke. I think that would be all components. So that's it. That's the British way, one of the newest additions to the coin series, first multi-pack in the series for smaller games, two-player games in the coin system, which enables you to reenact the true fall of the British Empire, so counterinsurgencies at the end of the world, Malaya, Cyprus, Kenya, and Palestine. Really glad to get this review copy from GMT. Thanks for generosity. And I will, of course, be creating now more content about it, playing the game extensively. If you liked this video, guys, do not hesitate to give a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more content like this, I encourage you to subscribe. Use also the comment section for any opinions you would like to share. That's all for today. Thank you and bye.